Time to review Men from director Alex Garland and from production studio A24. Let's get into this.
What's your favorite scary movie? Name it.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Well, I'm Pennywise the dancing now.
Oh, Lord on the beast!
God, don't do that.
But sometimes death is better.
Hey everybody, what's up? KillJoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today, we're talking a little bit about A24's Men from director Alex Garland in his third directorial feature. I have some very interesting things to say about this film, but before we get into it, if you're new here, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing. Just hit that little red button for me. Why not? It looks tempting, doesn't it? Just go ahead, hit that little red button. Go ahead. Yeah, do it. But anyways, real quickly, non-spoiler review just for like a minute for those who have not seen it. And I would really recommend seeing this movie before you watch my spoiler review, because there's certain things about this film you really don't want spoiled. So non-spoiler review, this is a very, very, very tough movie. It's not your typical run-of-the-mill kind of horror movie where it's just like, oh yeah, everything totally makes sense by the end of the flick. It's very complex, very allegorical. Is that even a word? I don't know. It's a huge allegory for one big thing, and it's not quite super easy to really understand. I think the performances are all there, really, really well done. But like I said, everything's kind of this big buildup for one big horrifying, disgusting visual at the end of the flick, which is once again one big metaphor for something, which I don't really want to give away. I want you to try to figure it out yourself because it's interesting. It's a really interesting flick. I recommend this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I actually really did enjoy it. But like I said, not an easy watch. It's definitely not one where you can just like go to the bathroom in the middle of it, like I did very quickly and then raced back because then you might miss some stuff. Getting into some spoilers though, so your last chance, if you have not seen Men from A24, go see it, then come back to this video and then we can talk about it. That would be great. I don't want to spoil anything for you because that wouldn't be any fun, would it? Like I was saying, Men is a very complicated flick. It's very allegorical. I don't even know if that's a word or not, but allegory-esque, metaphorical. It's very metaphorical. It's a film that cares much more about like the metaphor that it's trying to drive home and the statement it's trying to make than the actual like storyline, spatial logic. I feel like this is a perfect allegory for what it's like to be in an abusive relationship like this. We have our main character Harper, who unfortunately suffers and is in that kind of situation at the very beginning of this flick, and then her husband kills himself because of because she wants a divorce, and it's clearly because this guy's completely insane. And then when he kills himself, she escapes the English cottage side, and then she goes there and realizes something's really fucking weird with all the dudes that live there. I can't really judge this film based off of its plot line alone because like I said, it's basically all just one big setup for a massive metaphor at the end. That metaphor literally being a bunch of dudes growing vaginas and then jumping out of the vaginas. And if you watch that and you're just like, what the fuck am I watching? I don't understand this at all. Because like at first I'm just like, what the fuck? What am I watching? Oh my God. The entire drive home, I think I kind of got it. I think I kind of made it make a little more sense because the idea there, right, with the everyone coming out of each other's vaginas, they look exactly the same in a lot of ways. Sure, it's a different kind of character that comes out every single time, but what you notice about every single version is that every single one has this cut through the arm that was given to the one dude, but then like every other one of them, every other single dude in this entire movie has the same kind of affliction or the same kind of stab wound, or is dealing with the exact same kind of physical pain and saying the exact same things to Harper. The idea behind that, I think, is that Harper's former husband is constantly trying to apologize to her for doing like these really just fucking horrible things and saying things just to get her love, which is something we hear at the very end of the flick. What is the thing that Harper asks her ex-husband after he's the last one to come out of the vaginas or whatever? I don't know how else to explain this. This is a super crazy movie. Once again, if you haven't seen this flick and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I can't believe you just got that spoiled. You're missing out. Go watch this movie. It's insane. So we have finally her husband coming out of the last vagina. Once again, I don't know how else to explain this. He has the stab wound through the hand and all that. His internal organs are all crushed because he was also hit by the car technically. And what that is a metaphor for is all the apologies. Trying to say like, oh, I'm sorry, I promise I won't do that again. but you'll probably do it again. That's what an abuser looks like, is someone who's just gonna keep apologizing and keep saying like, oh, I'm not gonna do that again. Oh, I promise, like it's all over. It's done. That's what the metaphor is, I think. And even though every single time they are rebirthed, they look like someone different, they try to take on another face, another appearance, they always have the same injuries, which to me screams as a metaphor for the internal trauma and abuse that they inflict onto others, but it's also inflicted upon themselves. It's one big, gigantic, complicated mess of a metaphor, and I think it's done really well. I called it a mess a second ago, but I think that's because of all the blood and the guts all over the ground and the dead bodies and all that. That's why. It's messy. Literally, like not figuratively, it's just actually fucking messy and disgusting and amazing. I love the price of admission alone was worth seeing that fucking scene, for sure. But like I said, not an easy movie to digest. I think my one big problem with this movie, and yes, it's the whole point of it is supposed to be an allegory, and it definitely accomplishes that, but what it misses out on and why this movie won't be as successful as other movies in the same vein as this, that like have a massive allegory, like Us, for example. The reason I like Us more than I like this film is because you can watch Us without looking deeper into the meaning, into the metaphor there. It also kind of works as just a regular horror movie popcorn flick. That's what I think is genius about Jordan Peele flicks that make them stand above some of these other movies. You can watch Us or Get Out as just like a straight up popcorn movie, but there's also a lot of thoughtful elements to it and a totally massively deeper meaning. With this, you just have that deeper meaning, and you can't really just watch it as a straight up horror flick. It's gonna turn a lot of people away for that reason. And I think I really appreciate this movie for what it has to say about abusive relationships, and that's genius. Like I said, I don't think you could have done that better, but the overall plot itself is all kind of pushed to the side just to focus on that metaphor. It's the whole point of this movie is to get that in your face and set up this ending sequence. There's moments throughout the entire flick where you see like, I don't know what these are called, but like the things that you blow on and like it has the seeds and all that, and like it plants dandelions. That's a metaphor for insemination. And once again, a bunch of lead up to what happens at the end, that visual I was saying. There's a lot of things like that throughout. Like it's all set up for that ending visual, which makes it even more disturbing. And I think that's really well done. But like I said, I feel like Jordan Peele kind of has a better way of doing it. He has a better way of getting down to the allegory while still having a really entertaining and fun flick. That's why I feel like Us is definitely going to be more successful than Men. I like Men, I think it's genius for what it is, but still kind of pales in comparison to other movies that have done a similar thing. Now, I would say that this is Alex Garland's style, but I feel like he has made a movie that is a thoughtful popcorn flick, and that's Ex Machina, which is still my favorite movie from him. I love Men. I think it's really genius, and honest to God, the most disturbing thing Alex Garland has ever come up with is in this latest flick. But like I said, it's all set up for just that one scene. And I can appreciate that, that's awesome, but I still like Ex Machina more, because you can watch that as a popcorn movie, because it's very enjoyable throughout. There's very funny moments, there's very disturbing moments, there's really cool moments, and then there's some moments that make you feel kind of gross in Ex Machina. It's a more balanced film than this one is, where this one kind of just really drives home the point it's trying to make, and honestly, almost gets a little too preachy at some points. In no way am I saying this movie is bad, but I do feel like it took every single opportunity to drive that point home, where maybe it didn't have to get the message across, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But one thing I will give Men over Jordan Peele's Us, because like I said, similar films, Men definitely is much more visually stunning. I would say that the tethered in Us are like, oh, like that's super memorable. You know what I mean? Like the red jumpsuits and the golden scissors. You know what you know that that's from Us. You know that that's the tethered. That's very iconic. But I will say the visuals in Men and the visuals in Annihilation especially are some of the most disturbing and surreal looking things I have ever seen on film. And that's where I'll give Alex Garland an edge, which is something that definitely keeps me coming back to his movies. So even though I kind of like the structure of Jordan Peele metaphors much more than like Alex Garland's structure, I will give him the visual edge over Jordan Peele. And you might be wondering to yourself, well, Jake, maybe it's not fair to be comparing it to like a Jordan Peele movie, which like, yes, is fantastic as well. But I say that it is, because these movies are both trying to accomplish something very similar. Us is trying to drive this point home about class and how like eventually it's going to catch up with some of the people who are higher up class because they're not giving back to the less fortunate. And it drives that point home in the background. It's not super in your face. Men gets in your face a little bit at some points, and so maybe doesn't necessarily have to do that to drive its social message home. You might take this review as me completely shitting on the film, but I promise you I'm not. I was very impressed by Men, and it's definitely one of the better horror films to come out this year. It will be. I genuinely think this will be in my top 5 for movies overall as when I rank them at the end of the year. But like I said, I feel like Alex Garland didn't have to do all of that to get the point across. But I do appreciate him for doing it at the same time. It's, like I said, not a movie where I kind of fall on either end of the spectrum. I don't love it, I don't hate it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle with it at the moment. I definitely need to do another rewatch. I need to rewatch it, for sure. I need to watch this one more time. I felt the same way walking out of The Lighthouse the first time. I didn't know if I loved it. I didn't know if I hated it. I needed to watch it again. I've since come to love that film. And I feel like I will feel the same way about this one. But it's going to take some time to fully digest and understand. Just after one viewing, that's really not fair to judge this movie. So at the moment, I'm not going to give it a rating because I feel like that's not fair. Like I said, not an easy movie to digest. I need to see it a few more times before I can really give you my entire thoughts and understanding. This is just what I'm thinking about it initially after the first watch. But wow, that was a crazy review. What did you guys think of A24's Men from director Alex Garland? Please leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this new review video on Men from 2022. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Also, if you could, become a channel member today by clicking the join button on my page. Thank you guys for watching again, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.